Quote, "Our main policy claim here is that the government should engage in cognitive infiltration of the groups that produce conspiracy theories," end quote. Of course, there's no evidence that Sunstein is behind any of the recent attempts to discredit and infiltrate the Tea Parties, which is weird because those are the same words that he used. But there's no evidence of that at all. That would be a conspiracy theory. Sunstein will claim that he's acting with the best intentions, trying to dispel falsehoods and spread the truth. You're just spreading, lies, right? I think he's spreading the truth using lies. This is nothing short of propaganda.
So that's Cass Sunstein for you. Another Obama czar who wants to take away your free speech is a man named Mark Lloyd. If you watch this program regularly, you've certainly heard his name brought up a few times.
Just a reminder on who Mark Lloyd is. This is what he said about the Chavez revolution.
In Venezuela, Chavez really had an incredible revolution, democratic revolution, to begin to put in place things that were going to have an impact on the people of Venezuela.
He goes on to say that there were some corporations and many people here from Washington and the United States that made it difficult for that revolution to take place. All those darn pesky broadcasters. Oh, Glenn, he was just talking about, Chavez. It never happened here in America. Really?
What we're really saying is that the fairness doctrine is not enough, and that having a sort of overarching rule that says broadcasters ought to be fair, ought to provide the issues important to communities, and that they ought to do it in a fair and balanced way is simply enough, unless you put some teeth into that and put some hard structural rules in place that are going to result in fairness.
Okay. Result in fairness. He defines that, by the way. I mean, I hate to put words in his mouth, but gosh, I've seen a lot of his words. He defines that as the government having complete control of the airwaves. Okay. By the way, that was from way, way, way back in 2007. Oh, I know. We're just cherry-picking the quotes. It's not like he wanted to regulate who's allowed to have any kind of power, right?
We have really, truly good white people in important positions. And the fact of the matter is that there are a limited number of those positions. And unless we are conscious of the need to have more people of color, gays, other people in those positions, we will not change the problem. We're in a position where you have to say who is going to step down so someone else can have power.
Wow. Thank you, United States government. I don't find that in that pesky Constitution anywhere, but thank you. Who's going to step down so someone else can have power? Well, this is Obama's handpicked diversity czar. He says that the revolution in Venezuela was important. The fairness doctrine doesn't go far enough, and that we need to look at who's going to step down so someone else can have power. Well, how are you possibly going to ever convince the American people that this is right?
Next, would the left enjoy this new anti-free speech government if it were under a different control? Glenn turns the tables. We're bringing you a crash course this hour on controlling the message, the government, and the progressive attempts to take away your freedom of speech. You heard moments ago about some of the views of the people running this country on free speech. Now it's time for Glenn to turn the tables on them.
I wonder how the left would enjoy this new anti-free speech government if it was under a different control. Let's say this. Go with me here for a second. Let's say that Ronald Reagan comes back to life because he's so evil. He comes back to life and he becomes the president in 2012. And the Speaker of the House is that evil Newt Gingrich. Okay? And Chief of Staff, of course, it's Karl Rove, because where's my chalk? I mean, Karl Rove, we got to put some horns on Karl Rove. Well, we might as well put horns on all of these guys. They're so evil, right? And then Jesus is the Senate Majority Leader. I think that should be reversed, but let's just go with it. Don't think it through. Dick Cheney, of course, is a special advisor for all evil things. He talks directly to Darth Vader. And this is our press secretary. May I ask you a question? Liberals, Democrats. There it is. Now how do you like the system that you created? The one where the right to disagree with the president or his policies is gone. You speak out against these people. With the system that you are now creating, you could lose your business. You'll lose your license. At very least, you'll be publicly attacked by one of these guys. Or one of their advisors. Yeah, that doesn't happen, does it? How do you like it when the evil Karl Rove is in power? Suddenly it doesn't sound so utopian, does it? That's why freedom of speech, whether you agree or disagree with this president or any president, is of paramount importance. It is why when Hollywood was protesting the war, I said, you cannot go after these people. You must allow them and celebrate their freedom of speech. Who is this administration building into the enemies that have to be silenced? Who in the media now is making a difference? Who? First one has got to be, could we get some non-Chinese chalk?
It's French.
Is it really?
Yes.
It's French. No wonder it caves. Number one has got to be Fox, right? Bret Baier is practically the only journalist to actually challenge the president. He's the only reporter in America that can come up with tough questions for the president? Really? Yeah, it seems like that. Seems like the only network that has noticed that the government suddenly has some proclivity for taking over entire industries like the student loan industry. So they can just cut out the middleman who's taking evil profits. Seems like Fox is the only one that notices that. But this administration, they respond to Fox News by saying we're not really even a news organization. And opinion shows, like mine, understand I'm not a journalist and I wear it as a badge of honor. I'm an opinion guy. Shows like me, oh, we're really in trouble with the president by name. Listen.
I think that when you listen to Rush Limbaugh or Glenn Beck,
it's beyond that.
It's pretty apparent, and it's troublesome. But keep in mind that there have been periods in American history where this kind of vitriol comes out.
This kind of vitriol is troubling. Since when is someone saying, you're a socialist? Look at your policies. They're all lining up with socialist policies. Since when is that hateful? That sounds like political speech. Sounds like political discourse.
Next, the government agency that's now exempting itself from having to disclose information that Americans have the right to obtain under the laws of the land. It's day 4 of Glenn Beck's crash course. Tonight, controlling the message. Candidate Obama, in 2008, promised to usher in a new era of transparency in his administration.
Part of what we're going to do is create transparency and accountability in how government works.
One of the things I want to do as president is create more transparency and accountability in the system.
On his first full day in office, President Obama sent out a widely publicized memo to government agencies regarding his views on the Freedom of Information Act, a collection of laws that exist to ensure that the public can gain access to public documents. He wrote, quote, all agencies should adopt a presumption in favor of disclosure in order to renew their commitment to the principles embodied in the law and to usher in a new era of open government. But now, as part of the new financial reform bill, the Securities and Exchange Commission is virtually exempt from the Information Act law. That doesn't sound right, does it? Glenn has more.
The media's job is to be watchdogs of the republic, not the lapdogs of any administration. But that's exactly what they become. So, as a direct result of their not doing their own job, the federal government has been able to slip little things like this into the new financial reform bill. The SEC no longer has to comply with Freedom of Information requests. That's huge. The law exempts the SEC from providing information derived from, quote, surveillance, risk assessments, or other regulatory and oversight activities. Wow, that's kind of broad, huh? So now when the media is troubled by or curious about something that the FCC is doing, you're just going to have to wonder or hope. There's change. Even lawmakers are saying this is a big deal, like Democratic Senator Ted Kaufman, who is calling for it now to be rewritten. It won't be, but he's calling for it. Maybe he should have done that before it was passed. Kaufman said, quote, "This provision is overly broad. Freedom of Information Act already has exemptions in it to deal with such concerns. If those exemptions needed to be broadened, we should have done it with a scalpel." Another wonderful development. Yes, it is. Now, here's yet another. This one from media outlet Huffington Post, Fair and Balanced. They've teamed up with the far-left progressive think tank, the Tides Foundation. Well, they're going to produce the Huffington Post Investigative Fund. Ooh, I wonder what they're going to be looking into. It's going to be objective. Sure. Tides is linked to Wade Radke, the chief organizer of Acorn International, founder and chief organizer of Acorn, and founder and chief organizer of Local 100 SCIU. And, of course, board members of the Tides Foundation, you know, and a well-known left supporter of Barack Obama. And that's just him. Don't worry about it. This alliance is yet another example of the media gladly going beyond lapdog for this administration. I'm telling you, the Huffington Post is going to be Pravda.
Okay, we want to turn now to a group that is not technically part of the administration, but works alongside it so closely that it might as well be. Glenn tells us about the ironically named Free Press.
The FCC is being inundated by a special interest group ironically named Free Press, whose goal it is to limit America's free press and freedom of speech. This special interest group also claims that it's due to special interest groups that it has become necessary for them to intervene on our behalf. Oh, how great. Free press isn't about free speech. It's about Marxism. It's about silencing dissent. Free press is an oxymoron started by an oxy-Marxist. His name is Robert McChesney. In addition to co-founding Free Press, he's also the former editor of the Monthly Review. This is a self-proclaimed independent socialist magazine, I don't want to call names, an openly Marxist publication. Sounds like Free Press advocates so far, doesn't it? Oh, Glenn, there you go again, throwing out wild accusations. The puppet thing that I got at Disney World's not really working, is it? It's really not a smear when you use people's own words. McChesney, in his own words, any serious effort to reform the media system would have to necessarily be part of a revolutionary program to overthrow the capitalist system itself. Also, there is no real answer but to remove brick by brick the capitalist system itself, rebuilding the entire society on socialist principles. I don't mean to sound hateful by pointing out his own words. Is it a smear campaign now to, quote, directly quote, these wonderful lovers of our American way of life? Again, here's Free Press co-founder Robert McChesney in his own words, quote, "We need to do whatever we can to limit capitalist propaganda, regulate it, minimize it, and perhaps even eliminate it.